Hello. Hi, everybody. We're here. Welcome. Oh my
We
goodness.
did it.
We did
We
it.
did
I
it.
know maybe we're a minute late, you guys. We're
So
aware.
sorry.
It was Allie. She's having a Wi-Fi issue, but everybody, we're here. We made it. This is the women's game. We're live just moments after the U.S. women's national team's first of 3 games against Japan in this April window. We just beat Japan 2-1 thanks to goals from Rose Lavelle and Lindsay Heaps. I'm so pumped, and I'm so happy to be joined by Allie Riley.
Thank you for having me. I'm so sorry, everybody. This was, as a fellow podcaster, I understand the nightmares of technical difficulties, and the Wi-Fi was down. The Wi-Fi is down in the region over here. So I watched this game. I bought YouTube TV to watch this game, and I was like Gollum with a ring watching it like this. So no one else in my family got to watch the game, but I am prepared for this show. So
Okay, we are so lucky to have somebody so committed. I do just want to say that the last time we played Japan, we lost. And you showed up on this
True.
stream with us wearing a Japan jersey, but not tonight, I see.
I did. Well, I'll tell you what, Sam, as you know, I am a Amerikiwi. So New Zealand is my team. After New Zealand, I will say I cheer for my friends and beautiful soccer. So last
Okay,
time
fair. Okay,
around,
fair.
winning She Believes, I had to, and also our Japanese angel, June Endo. I mean, I have it right there. I was considering wearing it again, but the better team won today, and I'm super excited to talk about it.
Okay, I agree. Everybody, we are going to react to this game with Allie, but before we dive into all the details of the game, let me first explain the show tonight. This is a TWG Live, which means that you, our listeners, are here with us live, and you can ask questions about the game, about life, about Allie, about literally whatever you want. Here's how: you're going to scan the QR code in the top left of your screen, which will take you into a Zoom with our producer, Sophie. Sophie's a hero tonight. She's getting Allie's Wi-Fi working. She's getting you set up to ask your question.
Sophie!
The Zoom call-in situation is just audio, so your face is not going to be on screen. So don't worry about that. We're going to get to those questions in just a few minutes, a little bit later in the show. But go ahead and just get in there now. Make sure to get your question in. And if you don't want to call in to ask a question, just do us a huge favor and give us a like. If you haven't already, also, could you please subscribe to this channel? You'd be doing me a huge favor. Okay, Allie, I want to get right into it with the starting lineup tonight, which got me so excited. One, because Sophia Wilson is back in camp and back in the starting lineup. And they showed this graphic on screen at the beginning of all 18 players who have ever returned to play for the U.S. women's national team after becoming moms. Sophia Wilson now among them. This
Love
was
that they did that.
Such a cool moment.
It really was. And it was so cool to see her get 90. I don't even know where we are now. What was that on the weekend? And she looks great. To hear what the broadcasters were saying about Emma Hayes and how much praise she was giving Sophia, saying it looked like she hadn't missed a step after all of this time. And she played great. Obviously, it will take some time, I think, to get the connections. We still don't know what that front three is going to look like come 2027 Women's World Cup, but great performance, made the defense work really, really hard. And again, like you mentioned, what an important moment for moms everywhere, for women everywhere. And also, I love that they celebrated the women, the moms who had done it before her. And Sophia in the media has always been shouting out how she had so much support. She was able to come to this national team environment and have the players who had done it before her give her advice, tell her it was possible. And she now will be that person for so many others.
I know. It was so cool to watch. I also loved hearing in Soph's little pregame interview. I think Becky asked her, what have you learned about yourself in this process? And Soph said something like, I didn't know I had this much patience in me, and not about her daughter, about herself returning to the field, about having to take it one training at a time, about being patient with her body as it returned to form, and now even being patient with her play as she works to become the player that she was before giving birth. And so I just think it's such an amazing journey. I wanted to shout out Soph. We're obviously so happy to have her back. And I thought she had some really positive play tonight, but kind of like you said, getting that front three back together to have chemistry. I mean, the chemistry of triple espresso at the Olympics is that's the pinnacle, and that comes around once every 4 years, maybe. But getting back to that, even for the midfield, getting used to playing with Soph again, I think I want to kind of shout out Soph for being such a unique player, because she's so good at, she holds the ball up, She's also fast enough to be making runs in behind. She's also like a shooter.
Yes.
Like Soph
Yes.
tonight even is like shooting from really low angles on the field. And I'm like, shoot or shoot, man. Like Soph has to shoot. But I'm wondering what you see from her, as somebody who's defended her. What do you think she brings that's really unlike anybody else in this US women's national team pool?
So first, back to what you were saying about some of her comments, and Sam, you have been a huge source of support and inspiration for me. And I think Soph is obviously speaking specifically to coming back from pregnancy and giving birth,
Mhm.
but her perspective and her mentality about being patient with herself, playing with joy, knowing that you can't do this forever, making the most of it, that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I think that is a mindset that every person, but every athlete, every soccer player should have. Back to your question. What I love about Sophia Wilson and what makes her stand out for me and what made her a really hard player to defend was that she is a shooter, that she is
Yeah.
always looking to get into a position. She drives inside. Of course, she has a great cross as well, but she wants to end an attack. So I love that she will drive and get into positions or create space for herself to shoot. And she's really
Mhm.
good on both feet. She's so dynamic. She's so strong. So she's not a
Mhm.
player that you worry about losing a ball and creating a transition moment because she's someone who ends an attack with her power. And so having her on the wing like that, the positions she was getting herself into,
Yeah.
and that's something to get used to. How far ahead of her can you play that ball so she can cut inside? Or
Mhm.
is it that, depending on the defender, you get it to her feet so she can take a big driving touch past the defender and then cut inside? But she's someone who's always looking to shoot. And I had really not forgotten, but seeing her play with Portland, how it doesn't matter which foot. I was like, is she left footed? I was watching some of her chances and she is a goal scorer and she has a
Yeah.
nose for goal and she's going for it at all times. And that makes her so dangerous and so annoying to defend.
I couldn't agree more. And again, I think that, she is a different type of player than some of these other players that have been playing in the 9 on the front line. And so just getting used to having her there again, kind of like you said, yes, with the front 3 in terms of their movement, but also for the midfield. How far ahead should they be playing it? Does she want it through? Does she want it back to goal? What's the timing of that? Where does she want her crosses? And so I think finding that again for everybody is going to be really important as we really start gearing up for qualifiers later this year. I am excited that we had an early goal because it means we get to talk about it early in the show. Within the first
Yeah,
10 minutes of
same.
the game, the U.S. capitalized on a set piece. Sam Coffey served a great free kick far post to Trinity Robin, who just put it
Yes.
back in front of goal, which is, it's not the first phase of the free kick that we scored on, but that is a plan to serve it far post and just get it back in front. It
Mhm.
was really smart from Trin. Roosevelt was waiting to just, redirect it in, and it did take a good deflection.
Yep.
But it was, a great execution of what I imagined was like a planned far post, put it back in front, see what happens kind of play. So Rose scores the goal. It's her 100th start for the U.S. women's national team tonight. I'm like, can you get any cooler? Rose had such a great game. And I do think, set pieces always has and hopefully always will separate this U.S. women's national team. What did you like about this goal?
And it should. And you think about the targets the US has in the box. If you have
Mhm.
Trinity as someone who is far post looking to redirect it, but then you have a lot of players who are really good at finishing, whether it's a volley, a header. So it's hard to
Yeah.
pick everybody up. And Rose might not be the first person you're thinking if we have to man mark a player, is it going to be Rose? But that's how dangerous she is, that she is one of many who is so clinical. And yes, it takes a deflection, but I like this play. And also, Japan, I know we're going to talk about their game more, but it was kind of the only moment, one of two moments where they were
Yeah.
caught standing still because
Yeah.
those players, they're always moving, their recovery runs, but they just didn't react. And Rose never stopped moving. It looks like everyone is frozen as she comes through and finishes that. So that's that being proactive that is
Mm.
so important to this US team. And it's not just about size, it's not just about power, it's not just about strategy and the set piece play, but it's about a mentality of being first to the ball. And we really see that on that goal.
Totally agree. And I actually think, we're talking about these moments in and around the box where all the goals came tonight. And so what
Mhm.
you're saying is kind of foreshadowing some of the other goals that are
Yes.
to come. But I
Yeah.
agree that this, first to the ball, keeping it alive off the set piece, and this mentality tonight, I really felt like the US came out with that, like, great focus and intensity to their play. Scoring early against an opponent like Japan is such a leg up. And I
Mhm.
just felt like from the jump, we kind of had that front footedness, that high pressure, that good mentality. I wanna backtrack a little bit, look at the lineup again, because I think there's a few other important things to note before we dive into the whole rest of the game. Looking at the starting lineup, I was bummed to see that Sonnet was out. They said on the
Yeah,
commentary that she had a
a
knock to
knee
her knee,
yeah, yeah, in
and I
training.
don't yeah, I don't know anything about that, so hopefully we'll see her in the next game. But Kennedy Wesley did step up to start. She was on the left side of that center back pairing with Naomi Girma, and then to Kennedy's left was Gisele Thompson, who, putting those two together, they're both newer, younger players, which I imagine is a challenge for the whole back line. You kind of look at the back line as a unit, and half of it is newer and younger. I thought
Yeah.
Kennedy specifically had some good moments, but also a few naive moments. I
Yeah.
think I noticed a couple things like just that understanding of when to step out, when to hold the line, when to drop against a team like Japan, who, as you've
Yeah,
already mentioned,
yeah.
they're moving so much. They are trying to pull you out. They have a player checking and a player running. It's really, really hard. What would you keep in mind if this were you, Allie, playing in this position as a newer, younger player tasked with defending Japan?
First, shout out center back pairing from Stanford. So that was awesome. And then Julie Foudy. It's perfect when Julie Foudy is calling the games, which she always is when the US plays, because we got the Stanford connection, we got the Angel City connection. So if this was a
Oh,
drinking game with
yeah.
Stanford mentions and Angel City mentions, I would be really drunk right now. But
Yeah,
I
you
knew
would
I was
be
doing the show.
you
So
would
I
be
took it.
unable to be here.
Yes, maybe next time. But with Kennedy, really, really excited that she got the start. I think it shows that Emma trusts her with Sonnet out. Obviously, this is still an important role to play. Tara Rudd not making the squad at all,
I
so it
know.
shows that she definitely is a someone that is in Emma's vision, in her
Yeah.
plans. I don't know, but I think for me, it all of the things you mentioned, including I thought sometimes it's when to play on one touch, when to be
Mm,
a little bit more patient, weighing up the risk and the reward of playing short passes versus trying to break a line with a longer pass. All of that will come with games and with
right.
experience. And I also was thinking about some of her positioning. This is a team that builds in a three, and when that central midfielder, whoever's dropping in, goes away because you've
Mhm,
progressed farther up the field, you
mhm,
have to remember now we defend in a four. So then
mhm,
you have to tighten up. But
mhm.
again, until Japan had scored, it was like 860 minutes since the US had conceded a goal. If there's going to be a team that you play for that makes it hard to remember to think pessimistically, it's going to be the US women's national team. So I think obviously she starts for San Diego, but they're going to play differently. They're going to build
Mhm.
differently. So I think all of that will come with reps. And also, this is a player who will watch the tape and will be better
Totally,
next time. So,
totally. Totally agree. I think, for a player in her position who is performing so well for club and is getting these chances with the national team, she's gonna be a sponge. She's gonna learn and grow. And, I don't think she did bad by any means at all. I think that
no, no.
we're gonna get to this eventually, but there were a few moments of, like, emergency defending for the US Women's National Team, which
Yes.
was a little bit concerning.
Yes.
And so we'll get to that when we get to it. I do wanna talk Alyssa and Gisele Thompson together on the left-hand side of the field. Obviously,
We
both of
got
their
a
friends.
Mewis mention. We got a
I
Mewis
was
mention.
literally my next thing that I was gonna say is the broadcast had to be like, and they just passed the Mewis sisters who only started together 3 times, and now the Thompson sisters have started together 4 times. I'm so happy for them. And Allie, actually, I know you recently hung out with Gisele, and I recently also interviewed Gisele and got to know her a little bit better on her own. And
Yeah.
I feel we're gonna talk a lot about her performance tonight. I feel like what we're seeing from Gisele Thompson is like she's shedding her little
Little
sister
sister. Mhm.
identity. And we saw that in her play tonight. I mentioned her as, part of that left side of the back line that's newer and younger, but she didn't play like that at all. She's
Did
playing
you
like
have did you have a little sister identity?
I mean, I'm surprised that you're even asking that because I feel like it's, like, written across my forehead. Did I have
I
it?
so
Do I have it? Yeah.
Because I didn't play with you guys, and I think of you in such different I know you in such different contexts that obviously playing with the Thompsons then, I knew Alyssa and then got to know Gisele as the younger
Uh-huh.
sister.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know Christy that well, and I'm like, "Sam Mewis," you know? So I don't know. Was that something that
Oh.
you felt you shed or that
Yeah, I
you
do, and I spoke to Gisele about it actually on just an episode of Friendlies just a couple of weeks ago. People should go watch it on YouTube. Um, I mentioned to Gisele that when my sister left for college and I was a junior in high school, I felt like that's when I figured out who my friends were, who I was, who I
Mhm.
wanted to be. I started playing better, and I'm not, like, putting that on Gisele by any means, but I do think that having some space to be your own person instead of being somebody's shadow all the time can be really freeing and really empowering.
Well, definitely go and listen to this interview. Gotta hear more about this. But Gisele, it is you're not putting it on her. She says this herself, and she would let Alyssa speak for her, and they just did everything together. And now when
Mhm.
they're in camp, they're definitely doing everything together. I don't know if they have adjoining rooms again, but they did at She Believes, and they just, we're back to old times at Angel City. But I think Gisele, I love that she has this self-awareness of where she wants to go, where she is, the type of player she wants to be. She talked a lot because let's be honest, she was already elite, already one of the best
Yeah.
fullbacks in the country. Didn't have maybe enough international games to say in the world, but you're thinking this is a very, very special player. But part of her challenge was being durable, as they called it. And I think for her to be able to take on that feedback from Emma, from the national
Mhm.
team to say, because that's not a position that you're necessarily going to want to sub all the time, your back
Right.
line.
Right.
And so I think for her to be able to take that on board, do something about it, be more independent. And she said she feels a responsibility. And this is wild, but she's one of the Angel City players who have now been there the longest. And
I
she's
heard that the other
20.
day.
So for her to again have that understanding and feel the responsibility, and she says she's not super vocal, although speaking to Kennedy Fuller, they have a really good communication in terms of
Uh-huh.
where Kennedy needs to be. But Gisele isn't going to be someone who's like, guys, this is what we need to do today. But
Right.
she's leading so loudly by example. And this
Mhm.
game just shows how good she is on defense. We're going to talk about the emergency defending moments, but also how dangerous she is. And I like the dynamic of Alyssa. It's a little bit different because Alyssa doesn't get to maybe be that winger that we've seen her be. Now she is more inside because Gisele is taking that wing. It's a little bit feels very meta, very trippy here that there's two of them, but I think we really saw today what Gisele is capable of and how dangerous she is, and that now she is durable and she can get all the way back and do what needs to be done. So this was a position where if there was one, and tell me if you disagree, but the left back seemed a little bit
I
up for
know.
grabs, and
Mhm.
I'm thinking she's it's here.
Well, I think I actually have that exact question for you a little bit later in the show. I'd love to talk about it now because I think it says a lot that Giselle started this game, the first game of the window. This was like very close to the US Women's National Team's strongest roster. I think it's a big deal that she started this game. I think that there are some players who are gonna, cycle through and get their opportunities. I
Yeah.
expect to see Lily Reel. I know Avery Patterson, sometimes plays on the right, some could maybe play on the left. So I think the spot is still open, but it was a huge deal that Giselle started there tonight and then did so well. We're going to talk about Giselle again when we get to the US Women's National Team's second goal, but I want to interject with some of the emergency defending, which Giselle also helped with.
Yeah.
As we moved on after our goal early in the game, there were some good chances at either end throughout the rest of the first half. Japan had a free kick on target. Claudia Dickey had to make a really good save on that.
Mhm.
Claudia Dickey had 3 saves in the first half. I thought it was a strong showing from her.
Yeah.
Then Alyssa Thompson missed that chance at the far
Oh,
post. Sophia Wilson got that ball, right
it was a
across
great play.
goal. was a great play. I think it was one of those where it's like, oh yeah, this is going in, and you
Yeah.
just something just goes wrong, and
We've all been
that
there.
oh yeah, trust me, we've all been there. I've missed headers that were just absolute sitters, and I have Lynn Biondolo in the back of my mind right now being like, I would have like gotten an assist on that. I don't understand how you headed that over, but it happens to everybody. And then to the emergency defending, Foxy, this is the first one. Foxy made that
Yes.
really great recovery run
Yes.
all the way across the back line to make the tackle in the box against Manaka, who plays with the North Carolina Courage. NWSL fans listening will know exactly
Oh,
who Manaka
she's
is.
amazing.
Foxy's on a full sprint back diagonally. I want to know, Allie, what that moment is like as an outside back when you realize that if you don't get there, nobody's getting there.
One of the last plays where I had to do something like this was against Trinity Rodman, and
Ugh,
you're
SOS.
you really you're thinking you have to trust yourself, because it really is. If I am a half second or a millimeter off, it's penalty or a goal.
Yeah.
So you have to trust yourself, trust your timing, know that your plant foot is in the exact right position so that when that leg comes through, you're making contact with the ball, you're getting a block, you're not getting a leg, you're not getting a heel. You cannot touch the player at all. And you're not getting a deflection where you're putting it into your own goal. So I think Foxy showed in this moment, and she does this a lot. She shows why she is one of the top fullbacks in the game, why she's so reliable. And it really is a matter of being really, really fast, which we know she is, and trusting your body and your mechanics and your technique in that moment. And again, you're going to get it wrong sometimes, but you have to try. You have to try.
Yeah. Well, so this brings me, Gisele had a similar, what I'd call emergency
very
defending, where
similar.
she's recovering full
Too
speed.
similar.
I think, and I'm across our, all of our social posts and people responding to the moments in the game on our Discord channel. And it's so fun to celebrate Foxy and Gisele save the day. We love them so much. But I think as a former player and as somebody who is like looking at the US Women's National Team as like, was this our best performance? Why are we in these situations to emergency defend and make these last ditch tackles? What did you notice about maybe our backline shape or Japan's attack that led us to having these kind of necessary emergency tackles?
So first, credit to Japan. I think they know when to speed a game up and when to slow it down. And you talked about the chance with Sophia Wilson crossing the ball to Alyssa and Alyssa missing. The highlight of that play was going on when Japan went down the other end and almost scored this goal. So that is how quick they saw, whether it was body language or the center back position. I didn't even really see what happened because it happened immediately after. On the second one, when Gisele made that save, it really was a save. There was a Grand Canyon between the center backs. And this maybe a theme of what we're speaking about is, were they too far apart? Because as when the US has possession, the center backs are a little bit wider because they're using a midfielder. They're using Sam Coffey. They're using Lindsay Heaps as a kind of third build-up player centrally. So I think it really is about, in the same way that we said Rose was really proactive in that box, the defenders have to be proactive and think, what is the worst case scenario? What could happen? And again, that's going to be harder, I think, to have that always in your head when you play for the US. I mean, you tell me, but it is going to be easier to, I think, be confident in your possession, be confident in these transition moments. But a team like Japan that can play, that ball that split the center backs was perfect. The run was perfect to stay on side, to know that you have this kind of runway to go between center backs. And that's not something that the US does very often at all. Again, they hadn't conceded in a long time, but Japan saw it, recognized it, and played that ball. So I think there's two things here. There is the margin between these two teams, which is fun for me as a completely unbiased, third party here. Really fun. And especially since we're going to see them play 2 more times, but it is again, where the US now a little over a year out, those are the moments where you cannot shut off. You cannot be relaxed. And that's something where I think Emily Sonnet is always looking, always talking, always pointing. So
Mhm.
we don't know what that situation would have looked like with Sonnet playing, but that is the key to being a center back where they're high up the field. It's going to be hard for the keeper to be organizing like that. There were 17,500 people there. Woo woo, amazing. It means it's a little bit loud. Also, shout
Yeah.
out to the supporter groups that were, I don't know if it was one group, I don't know how many people, the whole game, the chants and the drums. It was, again, I had my phone like this, and that was impressive. So it's endurance. It's, if you get fatigued, it's just discipline and being focused. And I think always talking, always looking, always pointing, that's going to help. And that's something that a leader like Emily Sonnet definitely does a lot, I've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with all of that. And I love that you mentioned we're playing Japan 2 more times. So I do want to take just a second and interrupt this, discussion of the actual game to just talk about this Japan team. They're coming off having just won the Asian Cup. They dominated the tournament. They scored 29 goals. They only let up 1. But the big news kind of coming into this April window is that their head coach Nils Nielsen has departed the team. Reports have come out that there was a difference of style and culture between manager and federation. They're 1 year out from the World Cup. So if you're going to make a change, it feels like you got to do it now or never.
You got to
Niels,
do it. You got to do it yesterday. You got to do it last year.
that's what I was thinking. And I feel surprised by this move, partly because I feel like Japan has done well under this manager. Nils was the first non-Japanese coach that had ever been brought in. And so I feel like my question for you, Allie, is kind of like if there was a cultural mismatch between manager and team, you know, as people who talk so much about how important culture is, what's the takeaway here? Was Nils Nielsen getting results and missing something culturally? Does that matter? Is understanding the DNA of the team more important? Is results more important? What are you looking at this and taking away as what the Japanese Federation is valuing?
Obviously, culture and what is going to make the players feel their best is the most important. I think what
Yeah.
is so surprising is that they were playing so well. And we're complete on the outside. We have no idea what's going on in the locker room. We have no idea what their culture is like. But because they were doing so well and looked to be playing with so much joy, you assume that everyone's feeling good, and you assume this is something that is good for the players, for the federation. I think an added layer to this is that Luke on the broadcast said that players in the squad were
We're
surprised at the
surprised.
change. So that again makes me wonder even more, just like you are. I think
Yeah.
my takeaway is whoever they find now must be the best coach, and just the bar is set so high in my opinion. And I had also read a quote saying I think they said it, they didn't think that they'd be able to win the World Cup under this coach,
I
and
know.
also that he was soft. So that's where I'm also, the way they were playing, I can't imagine. Again, I'm like, if he was soft, if they couldn't
Yeah.
win a World Cup under him and they were doing so well, they conceded 1 goal, they played so well in the Asian Cup. The players, they're so important to their club teams. They all go back. They're starting in Champions League quarterfinals 2 days after they've landed. The players they played well today. So I think it is a big, big mystery for all of us on the outside. And the only quotes we have are really from this person in the federation. I think it's a technical director who played a big role for this team. So you have to trust that he knows best. But I would love to hear from a player, but I don't know if really that also is their style to kind of reveal what's going on in their camp. And I completely respect that. But
Totally.
whoever they announce, I'm on the edge of my seat because they better be amazing.
I know. I think I've also been thinking a lot about Japan coming off of the Asian Cup, which was a 6-game tournament in Australia a couple of weeks ago. They all then flew to wherever they played their club football, and then they flew to America. I think only 4 players on this
Yes.
roster play in the NWSL, so
I
the
know so many
travel
are in England.
alone
Yeah.
must be
Mhm.
exhausting. They did, but I think they did pretty good today, but I feel like what I was kind of expecting was for the US to be a little bit okay, we might be a little bit overwhelmed at times. This might be a Japan team that is gonna make us, be tested even more as we prepare for next summer. I was kind of hoping to see some more, I don't know, like lapses from the US because of just how good Japan was. And I don't really think that we saw that. And I think one, they just had this huge change with their manager. They did just come off of a 6-game tournament, and I'm not, they didn't do bad, but I guess that I was a little bit like underwhelmed with just how much I respect and like revere these
Mhm.
players to not finish the chances that we had to emergency defend and to not put
Yeah.
up, I guess, a little bit more of like seeing Rose Lavelle just kind of solve pressure and break through Rose Lavelle is the best midfielder in the world in my opinion, but like I wanted Japan to be a little bit more like crunchy and a little bit more like, harder against
It
us.
will be interesting to see because obviously during this game as Americans, we're watching this from the context and the perspective of losing to Japan, what has changed in a year. So,
Yeah.
to your point, that's really interesting to think about then Japan. So, what has changed? And again, everything you said about they just played all of these games. I think
Yeah.
I think the coach did a good job with the substitutions. I thought the players
Yes.
that came on had a huge impact, and there's so many good players. I don't know what their starting lineup, best
Exactly.
11 looks
But
like.
the subs who came on in the second half were incredible players. And so
Yes.
then you're kind of like, okay, maybe this wasn't their best starting group.
Yes, yes. So I think that's where with these 2 teams in particular, it will be fun to see what happens over these next 2 games. And does what is Japan's ceiling? What is that next level?
Mhm.
Is it that they're not as good as they were a year ago or last she believes? Is it
Mhm.
that the US have learned to solve pressure better?
Mhm.
We've gone through a period of now Emma, if you want to call it experimenting, bringing
Mhm.
in, debuting a lot of players. And then she said, now we're not kind of learning new things. They know the principles. So that also is maybe a weight off the players' shoulders. And now they know what she expects. And it's just about
Right.
executing.
Right.
So I think it's a fun, especially with the history of the 2 teams. And now that they're gonna play each other 2 more times. But it's definitely one to keep an eye on, and if people love watching football, following Japan in their preparation for a World Cup, wherever there is access, that's gonna be a really, really good team to watch if you wanna learn or if you're just a fan of the game.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, so, kind of just coming back to the beats of the game, as we kind of talked through that first half, obviously Rose Lavelle scored that goal in the first 10 minutes of the game, but she continued to just, like I just said, break pressure. I felt like
Yeah.
every final third entry that we had, it was Rose either like playing that final pass, moving the ball up the field quickly, like it was just always Rose who was solving the pressure to get us into our attack. And I think where that kind of took me, especially, seeing like Rose and Lindsay on the score sheet, it took me back to 2019 when we won the World Cup because I was like, it is those players, it is the veterans, it is the leaders, it is the players who can step up big in big moments that are going to have to be at their very best in order for the US
Yeah.
to win the World Cup. And so seeing Rose running the game like that, dribbling, passing, fighting for the ball, breaking pressure, that is what gave me confidence to actually think a year ahead and be like, this team, if Rose is playing like this team will be ready to compete at the World Cup.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. She's so fun to watch, and it is, there is so many players to choose from in that midfield. I think we had this conversation before,
We have
like,
we have it over and over.
Alyssa Moultrie, Jaden Shaw, like, it's just but as you said, if this is a transition, and obviously there are so many young faces, Emma had entire lineups able to field lineups of players
Uh-huh.
who had so few caps and they still looked so great. So it will be how do you blend? How do you find
Mhm.
balance? Or do you
Mhm.
go with the most experienced and the veteran because of everything
Mhm.
you just said? Do you need one? Do you need two? Like, what does that look like when you come to that first game in the World Cup?
Yeah. I I can't wait to find out. So we go in for halftime. We come out from halftime and we score early again, which I'm like, I
Boom.
I
Big
love
five
this
moment.
trend. Big five moment. Can you just explain a big five moment just in case anybody listening doesn't
Oh,
know?
yes. Okay. A big five moment is when there has been a pretty significant stoppage of play. The next 5 minutes are when we see most goals scored. So that could be at the start of the game, halftime, after a goal is scored. That's why we always say kind of when you score a goal, you got to be focused because that's a time when you can get scored on right away. It could also be a red card. There are other stoppages, the last 5 minutes of a game, but the most traditional are probably start of the game,
Yeah.
halftime, 5 minutes before the end of the game, and after a
Yeah.
goal is scored.
Yeah. So coming out from halftime and scoring, I think it was within like 3 minutes. And
Yeah.
what I want to talk about this, we're going back to Gisele Thompson because
Yes.
not
Press, press, press.
it's not every goal that I either am able to or really like think to look back to the beginning of the play. But on this
Yeah.
one, it was so obvious to me
Mhm.
that this play started because Gisele Thompson pressed really high, made a tackle out
Yeah.
wide, started this attack with Roosevelt. Then, Rose kind of crossed it. It came back out, popped back out. Rose then receives the ball in the box from a misclearance, slots it calmly inside to Lindsay Heaps, who just had this wide open path to just
Yeah.
basically pass it in near post straight in with her left foot. Such a veteran assist from Rose to be calm in the box, such a veteran goal from Lindsay to place the ball. But the win from Gisele Thompson was just this hungry defensive play of like, I'm
Mhm.
fresh, I'm out from halftime, I'm pressing high, I'm making a hard tackle. And I loved it so much because it started the play for the goal. Like Gisele is an outside back and she is so hungry to go forward and make that tackle. I just loved it.
She is, and she's fast enough where for me, she can get so close to any player that she's defending. And this player, the Japanese player turned, had her back to goal, was facing her own goal and was kind of trying to wriggle out.
Yeah.
And Giselle was just tenacious, determined, just
Yeah.
kept going. And she's really good at getting a foot in and then winning the ball again because she's quick and she's also fast. So that's one of the things for me. And I've seen it even more this year with Angel City. Get up in someone's face because whatever they try to do, you will catch her. So I think this again was kind of a different situation because she was pressing the players facing her
Yeah.
own goal, but that is how confident she can be because of her speed. And also the US, I think we're seeing players, and we had spoken about it ages ago about when you have rotations and you have central
Yeah.
players who find themselves out wide. We have Lindsay Heaps on the sideline because there's rotations going around, and I think that also can give this team confidence. I know Sam Coffey can come and do a slide tackle in the wide channel. These players will
Yeah.
cover for each other, and if you have Kennedy Wesley sliding across and Naomi sliding across, there will be someone filling all of these spaces. And again, the only time we really saw them exposed, I think, is kind of flat in an organized shape. But anything on the channel, I think the US players are so good at reading when they need to fill in gaps and slots. And
Mm.
also, if Gisele is that high up and something happens, she also has Alyssa there who's going to back for her. And the forward will be like, wait, I thought I just beat this player. There's another one here who just caught me. So it started with her. It was such a good play. And I also, Rose's initial cross, the cutback, it wasn't
Yep.
perfect. When you are running and moving towards your
Yep.
own goal as a defender, you can do that's that emergency defending. Do you maybe just shank it out for a corner kick? Because if you're trying to block it and you're running the other way, it usually isn't going to be the best clearance. And then, Rose calm and then Lindsay
Right.
with the finish. But I think, again, that type of cross when Japan, again, a little bit flat footed considering how much they move and how quick they are in
Mhm.
that moment, we're definitely caught a little bit standing still. And then, great goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I guess this kind of brings us to this other moment of, in the box defending. Japan actually made 6 subs between halftime and the 60th minute before we made any. And I do think that made a difference. Like we kind of said before, Japan is subbing in world-class players.
Oh
Riko
my
Wakey,
gosh.
top scorer in the
Wakey
Asian
is
Women's
so
Cup.
good.
So good. She scored immediately after coming on the field. And from the US Women's National Team perspective, it was a bit of a weird one for me. The rebound comes out to the top, a clearance comes out to the top of the box, gets headed to Wakey, who was open. and onside, even though a few of
Yes.
us, were calling for her to be
Yes.
offside. She was on. She was able to just, head it past Claudia Dickey into the goal. My criticism isn't, that we didn't get numbers back. It isn't that, yeah, like I'm not exactly sure what to criticize except that she should be offside in that situation. And so what was keeping her onside, I think the
Yeah.
rest of the back line, because I think it was Gisele had tracked so far back from the crosser, but then the rest of the back line had stepped and Gisele just doesn't have time to also step. So I think that that's my criticism, is like the responsibility of the back line to stay together in a hectic situation where the ball is coming out and then coming back in. And it actually happened again a few minutes later where Wakey again
Yes.
like was able to kind of like turn inside the box and just nobody had her.
That should have
But
been a
that
goal.
should have been a goal. And that's where I, as just a midfielder, I'm like, I guess I don't really know when you start to man mark on this rebound situation.
Okay. I got you, girl. I
So
got
tell
you.
me.
I got
Tell
you. I
me.
got you. Okay. So with the crossing situation, with the goal, so very, very smart. The ball gets switched and Gisele is
Yeah.
moving out at a great pace. But this is how good Japan is, that she crosses the ball on her first touch. And when you're running down the right side and the ball is coming, you're running this way, the ball is
Yeah.
coming across this way. To
Yeah.
play that on one touch and get the
Is so
angle that
good.
she does, that takes a lot of skill. Usually you take a touch and put it in a good angle at kind of a 45 degrees so you can whip that in. To do that in one touch takes a lot of skill, and also was really, really smart, because if you take a touch, what I just say about Gisele, she's going to close you down and then it's going to be really hard to get past her.
And if you take a touch, the whole back line has time to turn their bodies back out. Yeah.
Yes.
Keep
So
going.
crossing on one touch ended up being, I think, why the play was so successful. Once that ball goes, Gisele looks and still kind of moves and takes this arced run to kind of look into the box to see what's going to happen. And because the header doesn't clear the box, and it happens so quick then that there is someone who is just a foot ahead of her and stays onside. So that's where, if a cross goes in, wherever you're standing, you can't continue your run. As soon as that gets headed out, you're
cutting.
You take the step. Yeah, you just take the steps forward. So then you are all in the same line. The other one was a little bit different because this was it a free kick how it started?
I don't remember.
So there's so many players in the box, and as everyone does a really good job of trying to get up. But it's really hard to because think of all the different layers of players who are defending. Not everyone is defending in a straight line.
Right.
So when everyone moves up, it's going to be hard to catch people offside because they're going to be in between lines. So as you run up, if you are not going to be able to, by the time someone puts that second ball back in, you're not going to be able to catch someone offside. You have to pick up. So it's two things. You can't just, it's stepping up, clearing the lines, the keeper is going, step.
Yeah.
So you take those steps forward, but you have to also pick up. So that is, maybe you step and you jostle someone, so you push them with you. Yeah. But it's very dangerous to, when someone can play it back in, to just step and pass somebody, because if they're on, and she was open. She was really open. So great that Dickey held on to it. She did shoot it right at her, but that was danger.
Well, I totally agree. And that all makes sense. And I guess I'm wondering if a backline who plays together more often would have known and handled that. Or are you more so saying that like Japan did well to create those opportunities?
I think it's both. It's habits. Just, and that's where either the experience or the communication comes in. But also Japan is so good at recognizing a moment where instead of taking a second touch, instead of playing another pass, they put it straight back in. The one touch cross from that angle, and the cross didn't go, it got headed out by Foxy, just not far enough. But that's still that technique there. That's not easy to do. I think Michelle Cooper is also really good at doing that. But
Hmm.
that was really smart because Gisele is a great 1v1 defender.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I loved that breakdown. That was so
That was really
educational,
detailed, guys.
literally for
Thanks for
me.
staying
So
with
I,
me.
no, that was incredible. Okay. Shortly after the Japan goal, we're now up 2-1. We made two changes of our own. Sophia Wilson comes off for Ali Sentnor. Trinity comes off to make way for Michelle Cooper. And Ali, Becky and I were talking about this on our podcast, Good Vibes, earlier this week. But I'm just thinking like, for players like this subbing on, it's got to be like getting real. Becky and I kind of talked about like how many cuts we would need to make from each position if the roster is 23. Now that Soph is back and with Mal presumably and hopefully on the way back, what do you imagine that players like Ali Sentnor and Michelle Cooper are thinking as they sub into this game, knowing that those forward slots are few and far between?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question and then I have a question for you. I think that it is a high pressure scenario. I think you know that I think those players are likely to get a start in these other two games. But you're thinking, am I now going to be starting at the World Cup? Is there one or more of us who's going to miss out? What am I going to do? What do I need to do with the moments that I do get to play?
Mhm.
What I really like about these players and also Emma Hayes's coaching style is she doesn't put that pressure on them. She says, you know how good you are. And they're never she's not comparing each of them to each other. They all are so good in their own individual ways. They
Mm.
all bring something different to the game. That's what's going to make it so hard for her to make this decision. But I think that when the players go out there, and we've heard it, we've seen it, we've lip read it, that she's saying, go out and be you and do your absolute best. And they do that. They do that. I think who had the ball? I think it was Rose is sprinting forward with the ball, and you had Ali Sentnor,
I saw
Michelle
this.
Cooper, and Alyssa Thompson streaking forward towards the goal. And that is an attack that any national team would be lucky to have. And that we might not see that at the start of a game at the World Cup. We might not see that at a World Cup, but what can you do besides do your absolute best when you're competing against the best forwards
Yeah.
in the world who are expected to win a World Cup? And so it is hard, but I think that is up to, of course, players to manage that pressure and it is and the psychology of that. But it really helps when you have a coach who supports you and encourages you. And so I think that's why these players come on and do so well, which again
Yeah.
is going to make this really, really, really hard. Okay, so now I get to ask you a question.
Yeah, please. I
Okay.
do just let me just shout out
Okay.
the chat really quickly.
Oh, so many
I
good
did
comments
not
popping
forget
up.
about Kat Macario. So many great comments popping up. Obviously, Kat
And we have
Macario out
Kat
injured as well
Macario.
right now, and she is also very likely going to be taking one of these forward spots, making it even harder for the forwards subbing into this game to be like, okay, big job ahead. Thank you to everybody who reminded me. Kat Macario definitely on my radar. Okay, ask away, Alex.
Always on our radar. Okay. Don't worry about
I
that.
literally have never forgotten about her for one single moment
No,
in my life. She's that good.
never forget Kat Macario. Okay. So, Sam, 20 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah.
The US is down 2-1. No, the US is winning 2-1. So what we saw, the US is winning 2-1, 20 minutes left in the game. You get to put on a player who did not make this, who did not make this roster.
Mm.
Who are you putting on?
Well, the first person that comes to mind is Tara Rudd because I would make a defensive sub, but probably not
Okay.
into the back line. But that was the first person that popped into my head.
Okay. I like that. Shout out Tara Rudd.
Yeah. Somebody else who did not make this roster.
A late Lynn leg sleeve.
A very pregnant Lynn Biondolo.
A Lynn Biondolo, a Sam Mewis. Are we talking players
Yeah,
in their prime? No, sorry.
sure,
I'm talking about
sure,
players,
sure.
players who
Still playing.
could come on safely.
Playing right now. The next person that pops in my head is Corey Bethune because, those were the two that looking at the roster, I think everybody was like, they didn't make this roster. Again, I'm leaning now that I've had a moment to think about this defensive-minded sub who maybe doesn't disrupt the back line. Maybe Hal Hirschfeld.
We
Maybe
got
it's
someone
Hal
agree with you.
Hirschfeld.
Multiple
Just,
people are agreeing with you.
firm up that double six defensive block position. Maybe it's Al Hirschfeld. Do you have a player in mind?
No, that was for you.
Okay. Okay, amazing. Well, thanks for agreeing with me, chat. I love when you guys agree with me. You're literally the best. Okay, let's move on. We made a couple more subs. Lindsay Heaps ended up coming off. Alyssa Thompson ended up coming off. They were replaced by Claire Hutton and Emma Sears. Another couple who you're just like, I love them both. I love Claire. I
Do
love
any of these
Emma.
players have a New Zealand passport? Do you know? Maybe you
No.
can get your research team on
And
it.
and stop mentioning it. We were able to close out the game, win 2-1. Big stars for me tonight were, as people could tell who've listened to this whole show, Rose Lavelle and Gisele Thompson. Any big takeaways, any big stars for you, Allie? Before we get to our callers, who, if you don't have your question in there yet, get it in there now because we're coming there next.
I do want to shout out Claudia Dickey.
Shout out.
We've
Claudia.
seen a lot of games where it's hard to really honestly say the keepers are getting tested. And again, maybe I have to see the stats, but still, this is a team that Emma Hayes has said herself are contenders for the World Cup. And when we see which amazing coach they're going to get, maybe even better. So I think really cool to give her that game. And it just makes me even more kind of like, how do you pick a starting 11? And then I'm always going to talk about the Thompsons, and I think Gisele really shined for me. And I think that, again, Lily Reel and Avery Patterson are great players as well. And Gisele, things can change, as we both know, so quickly with injuries, with anything can happen, and you have to be ready. And I think Gisele showed that, and she believes and did really well, especially coming from not knowing. She said it herself that she could do back-to-back 90s, and she did that because that's what the team needed her to do. And that then showed something, and will definitely add to the long list of qualities that she has in Emma Hayes' mind.
Totally agree. And I love that you're mentioning that, like the durability piece, the playing back-to-back 90s piece, which is so important, especially for a defender in a World Cup setting, to be able to do that.
That's the norm, I would say.
Yeah. Yes. And I'll just say, I did talk to Gisele a little bit about this, about her, the nutrition that she is working on. Gisele is so young. And when I was 20, everybody, I was not playing back-to-back 90s for the U.S. Women's National Team. I was having back-to-back beers at college parties. So it's so incredibly impressive that players are getting on top of this type of fitness and durability now. The fact that Gisele is like working on this, I can't even imagine what her ceiling is. And all these players are going to be so much better than any of us ever were.
And we're so happy because they're also getting paid a lot more.
So happy. I couldn't be happier. I honestly couldn't be happier. It is so fun to watch them. Okay, shout out to Gisele Thompson. Go listen to her episode. It's incredible. Okay, we have reached that part of the show where we get to hear from you all. I'm so excited. Our listeners, you're here. You're going to call in. So if you haven't joined us live on YouTube yet, scan the QR code in the top left of your screen, or you can click the pinned comment in the chat. Go into the Zoom room with Sophie. Sophie's going to tell you everything you need to know. You're not going to be on camera. If you don't want to ask a question, just do us a favor. Give us a like. It really, really helps. Okay. You all know the drill. When I call your name, take yourself off mute. Tell us where you're from. Ask your question. Up first, who else but Avery? Avery, take yourself off mute.
Hi, Sam and Allie.
Hi, Avery.
My question is, what do you think has changed within the team since we've changed a lot since the last time we played Japan and She Blues? Because there were 8 new starters in this game, and one of those starters, Alyssa Thompson, came in as a sub against Japan in the She Blues final.
Wow. Avery's always pulling out stats that our research team didn't get, because she just knows literally everything. Avery, I love this question. The first thing that comes to my mind is really what's changed since then. I do think we have grown so much as a team. I think we have gone through this experimentation phase with Emma Hayes. Even, when I think back to our success at the Olympics in 2024, Emma Hayes was brand new. Like, that success was maybe part of like this new manager, like excitement and bump, and it's the Olympics and we played so well and it was amazing. But there is the growing pains and twists and turns that come with having a new coach like Emma Hayes. And so I think during this time last year, when we did lose to Japan at She Believes, we were going through all of that. We were relearning Emma's tactics and style of coaching. And she was learning who was available to her and how she wanted to play, and playing against Japan in a moment like that is really hard, and we lost. I think we know more who we are now. I think we have, a lot of players available now that maybe weren't there last year. And we're just starting to get back to that, like, okay, we're really ramping up for a world tournament again. I think those in between years for the US women's national team can look really different. And you can have a lot of players that are really trying out. There's just a different feeling in a camp and a tournament like that. And so this time I felt a lot closer to the tournament US women's national team. What do you think, Ellie?
I vaguely remember that at that time we were kind of like, they look a little bit rusty. The timing of She Believes a year ago, whereas now come off of a successful She Believes, a lot of the players play in the NWSL, and then you have Alyssa who's been flying for Chelsea, talking about, starting versus coming on as a sub. And conversely, you have the Japanese players who definitely aren't rusty, but like Sam mentioned, have come off of a ton of games, those players at the end of their seasons in the WSL. So I think just logistically, there's kind of a little bit of a difference as well, just to kind of throw something else in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. Avery, it's always such a joy to hear from you. Thank you so much for calling in. Tuesday's show is very late. Do you think you're going to be up?
My dad says the only time I'm allowed to stay up late is to call in, so I think so.
Okay, well,
Smart
if
guy.
you fall asleep, Avery, don't worry about it, because I could fall asleep too. You never know. Avery, it's so great to hear from you. Thanks for calling in. Up next, we have
Hi.
Bye. Up next, we have Susanna. Susanna, can you take yourself off mute and tell us where you're from?
Hi, guys. My name's Susanna. I'm from Fayetteville, Georgia. So glad to call in today.
Hi, Susanna.
Hi.
I'm so happy to hear from you.
Perfect. So my question is, what specifically did you guys see from Sophia Wilson in the game to kind of give a different look to the attack? And then what's your guys' favorite snack to eat while watching the games?
Oh my gosh. Allie, why don't you go first on this one?
Okay, well, my favorite snack is guacamole and tortilla chips.
Did you have that today?
Well, no, because I was locked in. It was a very stressful situation with that. I'll send you an invoice for my data that I'm using later.
I don't know if you all picked up on this, but Allie's Wi-Fi is literally out. And so Allie has had a stressful last couple of hours. She needs some guacamole.
I'm hotspotting. I'm thrilled that we got here. This is a good sign that we could hotspot this live show. Yeah. Shout out Spectrum, I guess. I think what I like about Sophia in general, and again, I mean, what's so impressive is that you wouldn't know that she had been out for so long. I think I mentioned earlier in the show, I really like how she wastes no time in getting towards the goal. And that makes her really dangerous. And when you play against someone who is that determined to create something, whether they're going to shoot, score, win a corner, force, win a goal kick, whatever it's going to be, they're so powerful and dynamic that them being involved, it's going to end up in some type of final act, and the ball will either, the keeper will have to get involved or the ball will go out of play. So I think she's really, really, really dynamic and fast in that sense, that she has this nose for goal and she goes for it, and she has that confidence about her.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I think one thing I did notice from her in that 9 position is her willingness to come out wide. I think that, sometimes in a rotation, Trinity will find herself inside or low or really high and wide. Soph can kind of float. She can peel out and make that run wide. She can stay central. She's just versatile and dynamic. And I think it's so fun watching her. The thing that really stands out to me about Soph is kind of what you said, Ellie. She'll just shoot from wherever.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not that good of an angle, and, I don't know that it's, 100% of the time the only option or the best option, but somebody who is just always like, I'm trying to score, I think is like refreshing. Like, I think sometimes even myself, when you're, especially with the national team, you're trying so hard to like not appear selfish that you sometimes pass up an opportunity to get a goal because you're like, I should pass this. Soph is just like, I'm a 9. I'm out here to score goals. I'm going to score goals. It's not selfish. It's my job. And I just like love that. I think that she's out there to score and she's going to score. And that's what I think she brings that is really unique and really special is she's going to shoot. That. And it makes defenders act different. And it opens up the field in a totally new way. I did not forget the snack question. Today, my like whole family is here right now. And so my family was eating during the game. My mom brought me up a plate of lasagna. And it was so good. And I like ate it here at my desk, like watching the last 10 minutes of the game.
Wow. That's a full-on meal.
Yeah, a little snack lasagna. Never hurt anybody.
Mom, meatloaf.
Susanna, that was such an amazing question. And you got so many great answers out of us, I hope. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Susanna. Okay, I think we have time for one, maybe 2 more questions. We have Grayson. Grayson, can you take yourself off mute and tell us where you're from?
Hello, I'm Grayson. I'm originally from North Carolina, but I'm currently living in Los Angeles.
Oh,
Let's
how
go.
fun. 2 amazing places.
Yeah, so my question for both of you, Allie kind of took it earlier when you guys started talking about who didn't make the rosters, who, you thought could be there. So I'm going to qualify it a little bit and say, for Allie, who from Angel City do you think could make the roster? And for Sam, who from North Carolina do you think you could see?
Oh my gosh. Okay, Grayson, love. Allie?
Okay, well, I guess I have to take out players who play for other countries, but I will say that 2 players who are on US national teams, younger youth teams, I think Riley Tiernan and Kennedy Fuller have really, really impressed me this season and last season. I would love to see Riley get a chance out there. And I know the competition is fierce, but I would just love to see her in this environment, in the jersey, and bringing that Jersey Shore absolute hard, like she works so hard and she's so determined, and do her chop that sends everybody, sliding across the grass. And I think she can do that at the highest level. So I am waiting. It'll happen one day. So I'd love to see her get a shot.
Big Riley Tiernan fan, also big Kennedy Fuller fan. I have been blown away by Kennedy Fuller so far this season for Angel City. But Grayson, I know you asked me about North Carolina. I see a lot of people in the chat shouting out Sanchez. And I'm like, yeah, Ashley Sanchez has had a great start. I think Ashley Sanchez, and I said this earlier this season on an episode of Good Vibes, if Ashley Sanchez has a good year, North Carolina will make playoffs. And I think that it's a lot of pressure to put on one player, but she is that much of a difference maker. I also know that Riley Jackson, who came in last camp or 2 camps ago with the full U.S. women's national team. I think she's with the 23s in this window. I think she has a lot of potential to just kind of, be that engine in the midfield, be that playmaker, that passer, great vision. And then I'm going to shout out Ryan Williams because I literally love Ryan Williams so much. And I think she's just such a tank up and down the field, getting back to defend, so fit, getting forward to cross balls in. I love Ryan Williams. And I know she was in at least like a futures camp or one of the January camps. And so I know she's on the radar, and I can shout her out all day. Grayson, I loved this question.
So we have 5 players we'd like.
I'll take it.
We'd like the final World Cup roster to be 31. And I think that would work. I think that would work for me. Okay. Thank you so much, Grayson. Let's do one more quick question. We have a question via email. This is perfect. Kelly via email wants to know, Allie, you're from LA, home to Hollywood and so many stars. If you could swap lives with any celebrity for one day, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness.
What a fun one to end on.
Whew. Okay. I'm trying to think. I know a lot of celebrities are here. I don't know if they live here, but Someone who comes to mind, I think, would be okay. Either so I don't know if I'm like if I want to be Chrissy Teigen or I want to be John Legend because Chrissy would then cook her amazing food. You know, so like, do I want to be? I want to be in the family here. So I don't know about swapping lives, but I want to join them, and they are so fun. And just imagine being serenaded and then have this amazing food. They have the cutest kids. They seem awesome. They're Angel City fans. Obviously, I met Luna at a game. So I think, and I've seen their house on one of these YouTube like architectural digests, and the house looks sick.
So cool.
There's probably a lot of cool peeps to choose from, but I think that would be a fun day.
I love that. That sounds really fun. I think that the food focus is really getting me. Nobody asked me this question. I feel like I would want to swap lives with like Adam Sandler. I just feel like he's like, I don't care. I'm gonna like do what I want. And like, I'm good. Like I did it.
Isn't
like,
that how you live your life in Vermont?
Unfortunately, I care a lot. I love that. I loved getting a little question via email. So thank you so much, Kelly, for writing in. If anybody else ever wants to send us an email, you can do it anytime you want. womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. I do want to thank everybody so much for calling in and being with us today. We could not make the show without you. We love doing this. We're so grateful to everybody who takes the time to call in, to write in. Allie, I just have one real last question for you before we let you go. I heard that Angel City recently announced the launch of ACFC Player Futures, which is a professional development program that helps retired players gain real world experience in different things within a club: marketing, partnerships, community impact, operations. I know you're a big part of this, and I want to hear a little bit more about it and why it was so important to you to get involved and like spearhead this.
Well, girl, I need some real world experience, but
I know.
No, I think, you know, the club means so much to me, and it was always a dream, a vision of mine to be able to be a part of it after I retired. I didn't know how many years I would be able to play, but as we got to the end, we just started having conversations about where I could contribute and where I could make an impact. And to have a program like this, I hope it gets used for many, many years and generations to come. I hope it's something that other clubs consider doing, because it is tough. Obviously, I've gone into media and I love that side, and I feel so lucky to have had these opportunities and to have been inspired by the likes of you and to be welcomed into this community of broadcasters and women covering the game. I also would love to learn more about the business side of the club, and I would love to still be part of all of the community work that the club does. So this is just such an amazing opportunity to learn and also to continue to give back and to make some money, Sam. So I'm really, really excited, and I'm really happy. I'm really grateful. And as we build out this program more, I'm excited to share updates, and again, hope that I think Angel City has done so many amazing things, and maybe sometimes we're the first, but are never trying to be the last or the only. So I really hope that this is something that maybe more clubs, and not just soccer, but yeah, think about doing programs like this, because it is hard. You lose an identity, you lose a huge part of your life. And so to be able to stay involved, but also continue to grow and get experience, I think is something really, really important.
Well, I really wanted to shout this out on here because I think it is so important. And I think you and we had international careers. We got to play for a long enough time where we had these connections. I had already started doing a podcast. I know you have been doing side hustles your entire career. I feel like your resume is longer than so many people's, but something that I think is really becoming clear as I'm like 33. I have, friends and people that I know who are starting to be like, oh, what is next? And for people who haven't had as many opportunities or haven't made as many connections, I do think about them now going into our workforce with this one thing, professional soccer, on their resume. And do they even know what they want to do? is that enough to get them a job somewhere? Maybe they're in their 30s. Are they going to have to take a pay cut for a while? Like, it's a really important thing that I know the players associations are thinking about. And I know that this program and people like you are thinking about, I'm thinking about it too. So it's something I want to keep talking about and let our listeners know is this real thing. And if you have any way of helping players make this transition, I think we should all keep that in mind. It's a really hard bridge to cross. So thank you for being involved in this. I really wanted to give this an opportunity, but we all know, Allie, you are on my TV like more than I
I'm sorry.
Don't know how, it's so amazing, but I actually don't know how you're doing it. And when we asked you to do this, I was like, is she even going to be? So I know just the one thing I want to shout out, I know you have a new podcast out with Kelly O'Hara, Time Wasting. Tell us how to listen, to watch. I'm so excited for you guys. It's so great. So give a quick plug to really your podcast, but whatever else you want to.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Sam. Well, I want to shout out you, Sam, of course, my inspiration, and I love you so much. And I'm so happy to be here with you. And also this podcast with Kelly O'Hara, it has been 15 years in the making when I forced Kelly to be part of the shenanigans that I would film. I would capture everything on my digital camera that had a, film setting and also my camcorder. And then technology started to get more advanced, but I love being able to just yap with my best friend about soccer and break down the game and cover the NWSL and obviously get snippets about Champions League and the national team in there as well. So it's called Time Wasting. It's a Just Women Sports podcast. So you can watch us if you want. We do some funny things. So you can watch us on the Just Women Sports YouTube channel, or you can listen to us and follow us at Time Wasting Pod. So it's only been 4 episodes. It's so wild. I actually bet on Japan winning. I knew you'd like that one. So I have to I lost the bet. So I have a punishment and it'll be out every Tuesday. So yes, stick around for that.
Okay. Well, we love that. Congratulations. Thank you so much for doing this with us amidst your very busy schedule. Everybody.
Anything for you, Sam.
Thank you, Allie. Okay, everybody. The U.S. Women's National Team's next game is on Tuesday. It's at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We are going live after with Megan Klingenberg right at the final whistle. That's going to be around midnight. So Avery, I will see you there. I'm really, really excited. Until then, we just released this really amazing Friendlies episode with Sam Coffey that I would really love for everybody to listen to. Sam Coffey is one of my favorite people to interview. She is such a joy, and we had such an incredible conversation. I really can't say enough good things about her. In case anybody else who is just here because they love the national team, we also released a new podcast with Lindsay Heaps called The Captain. We're going to be doing this kind of monthly series with her, and it's a great first episode. So head to our YouTube channel, head to wherever you get your podcast, look for those interviews with Sam Coffey and Lindsay Heaps. Make sure you're following along with us across social media, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Women's Game MIB. You can send us an email, womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. We also have some fun merch in the TWG store, so you should definitely check that out. Hats, shirts, and more. So head on over to the Women's Game store. Now we'll actually put a link in the show notes, so you'll be able to find it. Allie, thank you again so much. I just love you. Love doing this with you.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. Congrats to the U.S.
And just shout out to Spectrum. Shout out to Spectrum for just
shout out Spectrum. You guys, I need to get off this because I probably won't be able to use my phone for the rest of the month.
Shout out to the Wi-Fi. Okay. Thanks to all of our callers. Thanks to the whole team at Women's Game and Men in Blazers. I'm Sam Mewis. Bye.